Going back to the generational curses, if we're discussing a generational curse of mental illness, right? In the bloodline, in each generation, you'll see that family members would have this disorder often, like all the time. Not just like one person to people, like a lot of people in the bloodline will have this issue. The reason being that somebody way back when, they opened up a portal and they made a contract with these demonic entities, right? So sometimes when people join secret societies or they participate in certain rituals, they don't realize what they're doing. And what that does is that opens up a portal for these entities to attach to the bloodline, right? And most of the time what they do is that they inhabit the vessel that took part in these rituals, right? Or if not, and throughout generations, it'll always inhabit a vessel in the bloodline, right? And throughout the family and throughout the immediate and, throughout the entire family, there will be a lot of people who would portray to have this disorder. The reason being that the way that these demonic contracts work is that they manifest into the bloodline as some type of disease, right? And so because people are not educated into this and their things are not explained to them in this matter, they think that it's just, mental illness, or that it just runs in the family, right? It runs in the family until somebody stands up to it and says, I am going to rise above it, right? And the way that we heal anything in this world today, whether a disorder, a disease, a mental illness, because we have to look at things as energy, right? These are low vibrational energies. So as long as we're operating at a low frequency, we are all susceptible to having these energies attached to us because they're low vibration and we are operating at its frequency. For example, with spiritual warfare, it could only attach itself to you or affect you when you're operating at a low frequency or when you have an access point for it to attach itself to you. So if you're operating on wounds, on hurt, on pain, on regret, on resentment, and these are the root causes as well of all the diseases that are there to be. Right? So if you're thinking about you got a heart attack, where did that stem from? High blood pressure, where does it stem from? You understand what I'm saying? It all starts in the spiritual. So if we heal at a spiritual level, right, and we start, meditating, praying, being out in nature, taking care of our body, which is our temple, we are now operating at a higher frequency. So these low vibrational energies are not able to attach itself to us because it has no core to attach itself to. It doesn't have anything. You have nothing within yourself that this entity can attach itself to. It would be poisonous for these low vibrational energies to come near you because you're operating at such a high frequency that your energy now becomes poisonous to them, literally. Like, how people go through withdrawals when they're on drugs? The same thing would be like if these type of entities try to come near you because you're operating at such a high frequency that just a taste of your energy will get them sick because it's so pure and clean. I went down a rant. I'm rambling. Going back to being able to identify a generational curse in the bloodline, you would see people with symptoms of the generational curse. And it usually has to do with somebody opening up a portal, making a contract with a low vibrational entity, and that manifests generation after generation. And the cure for that is truly just to heal. And you could do that for the bloodline. You do that for the bloodline when you go ahead and you choose you say, this ends with me. For example, when it comes to, incest and things like that, right? You say it ends with me, right? And it ends with you. Like, it ends with you. Anything else, your children won't have to go through that. You're not sugarcoating it for anybody. You're not making excuses for anybody. You're not holding resentment for anybody either. You're also not passing judgment onto anything, any of this. And what this does is that this completely annihilates the entity and the person inhabiting that the entity is inhabiting, right? Because usually someone, a physical vessel, like, like us, like, right here inside of us, we have a spirit, right? So that spirit, that low vibrational energy is inhabiting a vessel. So usually when you live in your truth and you choose, you say, this ends with me, right? You go ahead and you annihilate the spirit, that attachment, right, that's attached to the bloodline, and then that vessel that is inhabiting, that the spirit is inhabiting, usually will go with the vessel, with the spirit. It's like a 1-for-2 type of thing. And it's not something that you have to be chosen to do. That's what the purpose of this message is. Like, how people say they're chosen, right? We're chosen by God. We are spiritual beings chosen by God, right? We can be spiritual beings that are chosen by God and become karmic by not learning our lessons and repeating the same things and not answering the call. And then we could also be karmic and choose to become chosen by choosing ourselves, by choosing to heal, by choosing to not repeat the same mistakes over and over again and not follow the demonic things that our parents, our family, the programming has taught us to do. And that also makes us chosen, right? So it's not like, you're special, you're chosen. No, my friend. You can be chosen and become karmic, and you can be karmic and become chosen by choosing yourself, by choosing to heal, by choosing to forgive it all and not pass any judgment, and choosing to love yourself. Your main purpose is to love yourself. And when you go ahead and you, for example, when I was breaking some of the generational curses in my bloodline, I wasn't aware that I was breaking these generational curses. I was just choosing not to repeat the same thing over and over again. I was choosing to heal. I was choosing myself. I was saying, this, no more of that. And then later on, I was like, oh, that was a generational curse. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. And then now I'm able to speak about the generational curses and how we break them because I've done it already, right? And it's really simple. It's by choosing ourselves, by choosing to not repeat the same patterns that, our ancestors chose. Because before, some of them didn't have the same opportunities that we have today. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the knowledge that we have today. But with that knowing, we're able to make a different decision today and choose to heal and choose to break those generational curses, which is what we're here to do. There's usually someone in the bloodline who's sent in to break the generational curses, but humanity as a whole, because this is a school, right? One of the things that we're here to do is to break those generational curses in our bloodlines, whether we're chosen or not to do that, right? People think chosen and you think, oh my gosh, she has it like, no. This is not for the wicked. I said wicked? Yeah, no, well, it's not for the wicked, but it's not for the weak. This is not for the weak, okay? This is serious spiritual warfare. I'll be back with more.